This is a story of a community that likes to work hard, digging, fixing, building, keeping people safe, or just lending a hand. A community that all have one place to come together, where they're spoilt for choice and good service is everything. And although there are stores all over Australia, the owners are as local as they come. Totally Workwear, clothing your hard-working community.
I'm going all the way up. I'm going all the way up. I'm letting go in my heart of everything that holds me down. And it's feeling like I'm in the groove. I can feel the love. Oh yeah, it's all around me.
Winterland whisper in my ear, make my troubles all disappear.
This is a story of a community that likes to work hard, digging, fixing, building, keeping people safe, or just lending a hand. A community that all have one place to come together, where they're spoilt for choice and good service is everything. And although there are stores all over Australia, the owners are as local as they come. Totally Workwear, clothing your hard-working community.
I'm going all the way up. I'm going all the way up. I'm letting go in my heart of everything that holds me down. And it's feeling like I'm in the groove. I can feel the love. Oh yeah, it's all around me.
Winterland whisper in my ear, make my troubles all disappear.
This is a story of a community that likes to work hard, digging, fixing, building, keeping people safe, or just lending a hand. A community that all have one place to come together, where they're spoilt for choice and good service is everything. And although there are stores all over Australia, the owners are as local as they come. Totally Workwear, clothing your hard-working community.
I'm going all the way up. I'm going all the way up. I'm letting go in my heart of everything that holds me down. And it's feeling like I'm in the groove. I can feel the love. Oh yeah, it's all around me.
This is a story of a community that likes to work hard, digging, fixing, building, keeping people safe, or just lending a hand. A community that all have one place to come together, where they're spoilt for choice and good service is everything. And although there are stores all over Australia, the owners are as local as they come. Totally Workwear, clothing your hard-working community.
I'm going all the way up. I'm going all the way up. I'm letting go in my heart of everything that holds me down. No, no. And it's feeling like I'm in the groove. I can
myself ready, so I don't want to make a fool of myself. So I want to actually get a kick out there and contribute to the team.
And it's your senior local footy debut today. You've been in the AFL system for 20 or so years. How has the grassroots level compared with the AFL?
No, I love the feeling. I walked in, kids are surrounding me, asking for photographs, autographs, and it was a real buzz. And I had that when I was a kid growing up in Port Lincoln, playing for Mallee Park at Suburban Oval. So hopefully the club gets a bit out of today, and hopefully I can help that. But yeah, there's a great feeling amongst local footy clubs, and you know, it's where the community comes together. And if I can play a part in today, helping the club out a bit, I'm pumped.
Shaun, plenty of local clubs are filled with youth, in particular these two sides. When you were a similar age, what was your drive to play footy, and was there ever a moment of doubt?
No, footy was always fun. I went to play for Mallee Park because my cousins played there, my uncles played in the seniors, and I was like those kids over there who were watching on the sidelines, watching the older guys play, and just wanted to play in the A grade team, and I did that, and then I was able to progress. But football's fun, it's what it's supposed to be, and hopefully the kids get inspired a little bit by today and play seniors here for their team.
And I know you did chuck on the prison bars for Port Adelaide when you were playing in the Sandful. Is there still a bit of an eerie feeling about it? I know it's a bit weird going away from the brown and gold, but how does it feel to go back to the black and white?
I love black and white. It's my colours. Obviously, Port Magpies boy. I bought the black and white Pumas. I love playing for the Port Magpies, coming up as a junior, and yeah, the colours actually, I was pumped. I saw what we were, the Magpies, black and white, so I couldn't be more happier.
And as I said before, the Carlton Draft, a wonderful initiative, but what motivated you to want to give back to local communities like Dalyston?
To be honest, just giving back, helping where clubs or people need help, so that's all I needed. And they asked me straight away. I said, yes, I'll play wherever you want me to play in Victoria, and pumped to come here. I've never been down to this part of the country, so it's a first, but I'm really excited.
And I know you have mates in Sam Mitchell who's coaching at Hawthorn. You've got Stewie Dew at Gold Coast, Jared Rufford at St Kilda. Are you looking to enter the coaching scene at all?
No, not really. I'm doing a little bit of work with Port Adelaide, a bit of development, leadership, but at the moment coaching's not on the radar. But yeah, there are a few ex-Hawthorn boys out there coaching, so no, I get excited when I watch those guys do that as well.
Shaun, again, we're very appreciative of your time. The final question, 407 games, is there one highlight that is always filling your mind?
Premierships, that's why we play footy. You want to play with your mates, and you want to win a grand final with your mates. You want to play finals with your mates. So the one memory is the 4 memories where I won 4 flags. So
if you had to pinpoint one premiership?
I can't. It's like picking your favourite child. Everyone is, to be involved in one is special, but 4 is unbelievable.
Well, again, thank you, Shaun. Good luck today. Dalyston Football Club against Garfield. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back for the pre-game show. Thanks, Shaun.
Your hard-working community. Totally Workwear, clothing 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 your hard-working community.
Welcome back to the Fairhaven Homes match of the round. The Garfield Stars will be on enemy territory as the Dalyston Magpies host them. And if you've just joined us, Shaun Burgoyne, 407 games across 2 teams in the AFL, Port Adelaide and Hawthorn, the most games for an Indigenous player in history and the 5th most of all time as well. Alongside Bailey Allen here, 10th v 12th on the ladder, Baz. Now, it may not seem like the most enthralling clash on paper, but I think the side of Shaun Burgoyne will just be enough to enjoy.
Yeah, Shaun Burgoyne is an absolute superstar of our game, and he's up there with some legendary names in terms of games played. Your Dustin Fletchers, your Michael Tucks, and he's also got the 2nd most finals appearances of all time in AFL VFL history, only below Michael Tuck. I believe Burgoyne had 35 appearances for both Port Adelaide and Hawthorn, and of course won 4 flags with those clubs as well. Of course, one in 2004 with the Power, and then he won another 3 back to back from 2013 to 2015.
Now, we have heard that he will start in the midfield, which I think is quite expected, if we're honest.
I mean, he's a utility. He can go anywhere, but when you're playing local footy and you've got a guy who's been retired for less than 12 months, you've got to chuck him in the guts.
So, besides Shaun Burgoyne, it's been a down year for both of these sides, really. Garfield are 0-9. They fought hard in multiple clashes, just haven't yet taken victory in one of them, whereas Dalyston, they have 1 win against Corumburrabina. That was back in round 3. They beat them by 22 points, and Paravicini and Wallace had 5 goals each. So, if they're on today, I expect we might see another great performance by those forwards.
Yeah, well, the Garfield Stars, we won't reveal anything, of course, from what we heard in the rooms, but it sounds like they had great confidence. They won a quarter against Inverloch last week, who are a top 4 side. So Garfield they've definitely improved, but they just really need a win today to, just kickstart that season. They just haven't been able to get one on the board as of yet.
As we can see them both warming up here at Dalyston Oval. Now, the weather, it is aside for the moment. There was a bit of rain before, and the clouds are still very ominous. But at the moment, the sun is shining, and we hope that they had the conditions all day.
And when we were driving towards Dalyston Dill, we saw the waves crashing into the beach, so wind will probably come to be an issue today. But yeah, so it's just going to all be about accuracy in front of goal today with this wind. Whoever kicks more goals than the other, well, of course they're going to win, but yeah, just making sure that they're aiming for the 2 big posts and not letting it drift off to the left or right. It's going to be really pivotal today.
Now, another point that was identified was Garfield's average age, and I believe you said to me it was 22, and that is just a demonstration of their youth. They have players playing that are as young as 16, and the youth will be tested today, especially against Shaun Burgoyne, 39 years of age. So quite the distinction between them.
And you speak of 16 years of age, you've got Jackson Foon for the Magpies playing today as well. He's only 16, so he'll be able to learn a lot of tips off Silk. And Foon's playing in the forward pocket today, so hopefully he can get some advice from an absolute legend of our game. And
he only debuted 3 weeks ago. Stuart Beaumont, who isn't playing today, but he's a part of their side. He debuted 2 weeks ago. So the youth is there for Dalyston. And I guess it's similar between Garfield. Both in their huddles now as the coin toss will begin in a moment. Do we assume Shaun Burgoyne will be the man elected to do the coin toss?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure. He's only played one. It's only his first game today. To give him captain duties, that's a big ask.
His first senior game. So
Yeah.
when he was younger, he did not play a senior game, which is astonishing.
Well, he played for Port Adelaide's Sandful side since about 16. So yeah, no, he hasn't had that local footy senior debut until today, and it certainly took him a while. Had an illustrious 20-year AFL career, as we know, for Port Adelaide and the Hawthorn Hawks, and who would have thought he debuted in senior footy after debuting in AFL.
Well, we'll see if that flair is still there. And this wind is just loud, isn't it? It's quite obnoxious.
Yeah, the tent we're in, it's banging into me. It's trying to budge me on.
In the ruck for Dalyston, Jack Murray. And we have been told that Garfield, they don't usually have a primary ruckman. And we'll assume that Jake Thomas will start. Nearly underway, just waiting for the green light. Dalyston v Garfield. The Shaun Burgoyne game, and he'd love to get this team their second win of the season. And for Garfield, it's a major test against the grain, 0-9. And an upset would be an extraordinary viewing today. Bailey Allen alongside on the call. Dalyston v Garfield.
And we've got Silk on view today. It's going to be a great contest between two sides that really need a win. Magpies have won. Garfield yet to get a W on the board, so heads out towards the wing, and players just flooding around the ground. There's Burgoyne. Couldn't get a disposal, however. He was pressured well by Garfield star. So kick towards inside 50. Nearly a mark taken. They'll get off half back here, the Pies, and they should push towards the wing, and they do. No one will get to it in time. So you've got Michael Murata, is running towards the boundary line, and we'll have a throw in quickly.
Now, just quickly, there is a little bit of a discrepancy with the ruckman. We do have two number 28s, Jack Murray and Jesse Orchard-Moore. And in the ruck is one of them. I'll go with Murray at the moment as he paddles it down. Bow was there to intervene for the Garfield Stars, and now they can just collect it. It wasn't clean, and it's still disentangled. Now kicked forward. So this is the Garfield Stars' first opportunity. Again, the ball is in dispute. Operations continue, though. But they're able to cut it off at the Magpies through Harris. But he's been pinned for holding the ball. And now the Stars just beyond centre half forward. Steering one to the flank, where the mark is taken about 55 out from goal.
So just looking for any options. They've got to take the win into account here. It's absolutely blowing like crazy today. So it's a long, high ball inside 50. Anyone can take a contested mark. Free kick paid in the way of the Magpies. So nearing full back. Looking for an option is Brad Monson, who won the BNF for the Pies last year, of course, and he turns that one over. Really low kick. It was a bit silly in the end. So now the Stars can re-enter inside 50. They need a quick start. Another low ball. Might be intercepted, not quite. Now players tumbling and rumbling for the ball. Looks like we should have a stoppage. As Samir Kazada couldn't get a clean grab on it. It was one of 4 additions from Noble Park in the off-season.
30 out from the Stars goal. They go up in the ruck again, and Murray just collects it by himself, feeds it off to a teammate who just bashes it out of their defence. A nice chest mark by Hayden Wallace. At half back to the wing now, they slip. Just big collision between Scampolino and one of the other defenders for the Magpies. I believe it might have been Paravicini, who, as we spoke on in the pre-game, kicked 5 goals in their only win of the season. Shaun Burgoyne around this pack. Look at him lurking. Tough job for Jonathan Sawsey. There's the throw in. Murray again. Paddles it down, this time only as far as Andrew Fitzpatrick into the forward pocket. A kind bounce to the forward line. They chain up the handballs. Again fed through. In the pocket again. A nice little dribbler. And it was just touched on the line. What an effort that would have been by John Zakari.
And that was incredible work from the Stars, just continuing to push and push and push. Didn't give up, and unfortunately they didn't get the result they wanted, which was 6 points. But if they continue to play like that all day, you know, this is going to be really tough contest for the Pies. And that's a great grab taken on the wing there. So pushes further towards the far wing. Got Jack Paravicini. He's got a hard name. He's able to kick it off the side of the boot, trying to get inside 50 here. So players for the Magpies just pushing down forward. Marotta tries to find an option, and just with this wind pushing against the ball, they cannot get a really big kick inside 50, and a free kick's going to be paid in the way of the Maggies. It'll go to Michael Marotta.
Now the wind's against him here, so he'd have to kick every part of this ball. We saw the kick just previously. It held up in the air, put everything into it. I think it would have gone about 10 metres.
Yeah, pushed right back at him. And whoever is on that end of the ground today is going to have great troubles. And here's Marotta. He's on a tough angle. He's got a fair bit of distance out. Look at the wind carry that. My goodness. That is going to be a challenge and a half today. And it's picked off nicely by the BNF in Monson. And he finds another target in Curtis Murfitt. And the wind is much worse than expected. I think I was looking at Google before. About 40 kilometres per hour is another uncontested mark taken for Dalyston. And in fact, it's Jack Paravicini. Little stab kick over to Hayden Wallace. And the wind is wreaking havoc today in the tents, on the ground. No one's going to be able to get a clean kick of the footy.
So 1 point apiece, nearly 5.5 minutes in on the Totally Workwear Pakenham scoreboard, where a new store has just opened. Harsh tackle there by Paravicini. And he almost went with the smother, but the defence just holds up. Nice little pot kick for Sawsey at half-back. And he'll look to switch play. It was a dangerous kick. What are the ramifications of this? Because they're heading forward through Burgoyne, who shrugged one tackle, went at it again. He has players all over him. And it's centre half forward for the Magpies. We'll have a ball up. Wind settled for a moment. Bit of serenity, but only momentarily, as the ball is back in the pack. Ball up in the same place. What have you liked so far, Bailey?
I really liked Jonathan Sawsey. I know we're not too far into this game as holding the ball is called, but yeah, we're only a couple minutes into the game, but he's kept Burgoyne relatively quiet so far. He hasn't seen much of the footy.
So Suter to the half-back flank. Oh no, a fall by Jones. Couldn't quite clunk the football, but he did well with the second effort. Found a teammate in crime. Up to half forward now. The lead is on. Strong chest mark. Zakari. Nor has kicked a blinder before. Short ball inside 50. It was well weighted. Dropped in the end by Lang. And the tackles. And now the hand pass. Off for Sawsey. The man Bailey spoke on. Gets the first on the board for the Stars.
And on both sides of the ball, he's been brilliant so far. Defensive, he's kept Burgoyne really quiet in this first 7 minutes, and then he is able to hit the scoreboard with a goal, and he just weaved out of traffic nicely there and was able to find a really open look at goal. And obviously the wind is going down towards the other end, so it was a really clean look as well, and was able to slot through nicely.
Yeah, well, Garfield, they'll need probably a 2-3 goal lead at quarter time, you'd think, with this wind.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. As we saw before, the kick is just pushed back by the wind every single time. So Motd, it was a hard tackle. Here comes Zakari. And never mind, Zakari's got the footy now off half forward. He's able to kick a little dribbler there, and then you've got Kazada, who was looking for the footy, and it's going to eventually roll over over the boundary line.
Yep. First class seats for the action.
Yeah.
Right in front of us at half forward.
So, thrown in by the umpire. And Kazada, he's played a pretty good game so far in the back pocket. So Swazi, he was lurking but couldn't get in the end. Motd, he's had lots of the footy early. Kick it towards the wing. Burgoyne, he's lurking, but he's got a couple of defenders on him, and it was picked off and read nicely by Joseph Verleg. He kicks it towards Akari, but he had two players on him, so couldn't do much in the end. It was a good effort on a tackled. Clay Tate was, sorry. And we'll have another boundary throw in.
Nearly 9 minutes in. It's Garfield by one straight kick on the totally Workwear Pakenham scoreboard. A throw in about 60 metres from their goal. They have the win this quarter. And the ruckman will contend in the air. Nice throw in by the boundary umpire. It falls loose, and now they can head forward into the leading lanes to a pure one-on-one. Just tapping it in front of him was Lang. Again, it's kept alive, but the defence can flush it out of there, and they do, towards the wing, and we might have a throw-in in the exact same place, down at the wing.
So ball has returned exactly where it was before. The Magpies just cannot seem to push it down the field, and I know they've got the wins, but they've had a lot of troubles. So ball thrown in. Zakari was pushing again.
Oh,
it was a nice smother, though, by Kazada, who's... Oh, what a grab.
Contender.
Blake Carew. And Kazada, as I was saying before, he's been good off half-back, smothered nicely by Liam Bow.
Couldn't quite complete the play, but that's a contender for our Fused by King G mark of the day by Blake Carew.
Yeah, he took a great grab with one hand, and we've got a lot of footy left, but you're certainly right. A contender it will be. So another boundary throw, and we've had a couple so far today. And now the Stars can move. Low cutting kick. Couldn't get a grab. It was defended nicely by Michael Harris in the black and white. And they just try to go through the middle there before it's cut off by a Star. It's smothered. Burgoyne. His first disposal of the game. What a grab. They're not going to pay a mark, are they? They will. In favour of Jake Paravinci, sorry.
Well, how's that? Shaun Burgoyne. It's probably his first genuine touch, and that's all he needs to make an impact. They'll have a shot up forward now to kick there first.
And this is going to be the problem all day. As we mentioned before, this wind is unforgiving. Kicks it directly in front, goes through. So the Maggies get their first major of the day, 7 apiece, and we've had a really good contest so far, haven't we, Dill?
We have, for sure. 1-1 apiece. Just over 11 minutes in on the totally Workwear Pakenham scoreboard. And as we said, Shaun Burgoyne, first touch. It went about 55, 60 metres with the wind towards him as well.
It was a class kick. Silky, you might say.
And Paravicini, who we were giving a good rap in the pre-game too. As we said, kicked 5 in their only win against Corumburra. Gets the first on the board for the Magpies. And a crucial one too. Lang out of the middle this time. Lodges that one forward. It just eluded Harper. They'll go after it again. A 3-on-1. But Casazada out to the run in Tate. Across the wing he goes. He'll measure that one. Just in front of Paravicini again. Agility on display. He'll hand pass over the top for Wallace. And now Wallace to centre half forward. The forwards, well, they can work together here. They do. How? The umpire blows the whistle. And we'll have a free kick going the way of the Magpies at centre half forward. Again, chipping inside. Strong lead. Even stronger mark.
It was a great look there to enter inside 50. There was nothing really wrong with it as Blake Carew can look to kick his first of the day.
Clean pair of hands, Blake Carew. Already a contender for mark of the day, but now he can influence on the scoreboard. And he does. The Magpies have the lead. Nearly 13 minutes in on the Totally Workwear Pakenham scoreboard. 2-1-13 to 1-1-7.
So Garfield, they're just starting to let it a little bit loose now. They had a really good pressurising couple of minutes, but they've slowed down a bit and they've let the Pies take control of this game a bit more. So they've got to get back up to that intensity at which they were before, because it was a great sight to see.
And Kazazada in the defence, just quietly, putting his imprint on the game.
He's been really good. I haven't minded Brad Monson as well.
Yep.
They've been both been really good in the back line for the Pies so far.
Set to resume hostilities in the middle. Nice throw up, tap down. The Stars this time, high kick forward. Had to be clean, did Monson, and he'll go again. Just slapped away from him. The Stars, well, they can work together. Fitzpatrick brought down, a strong tackle by Armstrong, holding the ball. And Lewis Armstrong, it's in the name. Great tackle. At half back to the wing, kick a little indiscriminate, and Verleg plays on, ran his full measure to a one-on-one. Out the back waiting was Walsh, and he's happy to see it over the line. We'll have a throw in the forward pocket over 14 minutes in.
So dangerous territory here for the Pies. For Garfield, they would most certainly like to hit the scoreboard in a major way once again. So in the right forward pocket here, Burgoyne dropping back, probably looking for a quick clearance here. So taps further out, whistle blown, and it'll go in the way of Dalyston. So pretty good kick there. Likes the drop and nice use of the body there.
Who else?
Again from Blake Carew, who's played magnificent. Oh, I cannot even say the word. Magnificently, I should say, so far. So ball getting ever so close to the boundary line. Here's Carew again, and he'll just see it over. Another boundary throw in.
Yeah, a bit of a high-octane start. Maybe not on the scoreboard, but the pressure. 2 goals for Dalyston, 1 to Carew, 1 to Paravicini. And Sawsey was able to convert for Garfield. In the ruck, over the back. The ruckman for Garfield. It's a bit of a scrap. Holding the ball is paid, and a free kick going the way of the Stars. Reluctant to give it up was Howe. Now the short option is there. Instead, he'll take the longer one. Inside 50, and Walsh had the sit the entire time it was in the air. So across defence now. Not eager to expedite movement. Now they do to the wing. Monson just over the head of Storr. It might dribble over the line. And it does. Eventually. Over 16 minutes in now. Quick 16 minutes, I must say.
Yeah, it's gone really quick, actually, Dill. That's a good observation. It hasn't felt like that with the fast-moving footy. Hasn't been a lot of stop-start at all.
No. As on cue, we will have to redo the throw-in, and they do now. To the advantage of a Garfield teammate, and he was taken high. Free kick on the wing. Consider every offer possible, and now to half forward, and again cutting it off was the defence. Brendan Walsh just slightly miscued. Burgoyne though, with all his experience, can wrap it up by hand, gather it again, and pass out the back, and again out the back hatch, and over the line for a throw in at half forward. 2-1. Dalyston plays 1-1 for Garfield. 17 minutes in on the Totally Workwear Pakenham scoreboard.
And I think the problem for Garfield so far, Dill, is that they're just not taking enough time with their inside 50 entries. I've found that the Pies have been, or the defenders have been able to drop back really easily and read the ball quite well, and that's because of the rush kicks inside 50. We might have another one here, not picked off this time, whistle blown high, this time going the way of the Stars. So he can go for the set shot here. And he's also got Nicholas Lang in the forward pocket. He's making a lead. He's screaming for the footy, but it looks like we'll have a set shot here for Garfield. Just trying to get the number. A really tough angle. The wind not going down this end, so the distance might not be a problem. And that is way off target. Really high kick, though. Oh, it's Lang! Leaps up with the two hands, stretches the body. That's a great contested mark. And now he could either snap the ball here, run off the mark. Umpire telling Kazazada to clear the area. He's going to run off the mark. Oh, he's missed it. Oh, no.
And hit the bonnet of a car.
That is just about one of the easiest kicks you've got in footy, and he missed it from about 5 metres out.
Well, we don't have a segment for miss of the day.
And that was Lang, Nicholas Lang. He's played for a lot of footy with different clubs, and he even had a three-season stint with Casey back when they were the Scorpions in the VFL, not the Demons.
It's disappointing because he's been reputable early.
So Walsh. And no mark taken on the wing. Motd, he's been pretty good in the midfield so far. Walsh really wanted the footy but didn't get in the end, so Kazazada, he's dropped back. What a grab, Curtis Murphy. It's been a game full of them so far. Motd moving through the middle with poise. Bit of a weird looking kick. Inside 50. Garfield retain or get back possession. It's nearly picked off again by a pie, but the Stars, they're going to get back to it first. So that's now Curtis Harper with the footy. Kicks along, and Walsh, who's had a really good couple of minutes in the back line, is able to collect the footy. So back with Dalyston now. It was a good mark. Kept composure there. Was Tate on the wing. So kicks it left towards the 50. No one could take the mark. So you're going to go through the middle here. The Stars couldn't take the mark, and now they might be out here. They've just got to get to the footy first, but look at Kazazada. He is absolutely running like a madman for that Sharon. No free kick paid. And it was still a really good effort there from Jackie Barnes to get there in time.
Desperation from Zakari as well. He sprinted, and he was unlucky not to get there. He copped a big shepherd. So deep in the forward line for the Stars, but again, Kazazada, looping hand pass. Howe across half back. He'll look centrally and flying again. I believe it's Carew to Murfitt. Erratic hand pass, finally able to garner the footy. They'll backtrack to Monson. His kick just over the head of the preferred targets. The Stars can repel. Pressed at the wing. It was Sorfa. And now diving at ground level, Pickering. They find a way out. A one-on-one, tracking it down. Motd against Sawsey. Motd got the better of him. Now they can swing it to the outer side.
So, big booming kick from Matty Howe. Probably will go out of bounds here, but it was actually collected by Storr in the end. So they're now pushing towards the pocket. Carew, high handball, try to go over the top of a Stars defender. But in the end, it's going to go out of bounds for a stoppage. And I think the problem with the Pies so far and why they don't have a bigger lead is their kicking efficiency has just probably not been up to scratch so far. They've turned the footy over quite a fair bit, but they're still leading this game by 7 points, so you can't critique them too much. So Stars get it back. Oh, it was a really good smother, however. It looks like they were going to exit inside 50 once again, but there were an extra Pies there forming a line, and it was a really good smother in the end for another throw-up, or boundary throw-in, I should say, as Storr tried to find Murfitt before it went out of bounds again. Cloudy day here in Dalyston near the sea. We've got a really big crowd here to watch Shaun Burgoyne, who's, of course, a part of the Carlton Draft, and an organisation ran by the beer makers, Carlton Draft and Fox Footy. And just raising awareness for some local clubs that may not necessarily have a bunch of funding. Kararoo Murphy, that looks like a really good kick. Is it going to have the legs? It won't. Touched behind, that would have been a contender for goal of the day, but just couldn't get enough on it in the end. Deal.
Yeah, against the breeze, Garfield, you just sense that they need a goal because, as we've said plenty of times already in the first 23 minutes, this wind, it threatens. And look at the legs on that kick. All the way over the top. It's bowled them all. Definitely out for a boundary throw in.
So we've had a few of them in the past minute or so. Another boundary throw in. Murray in the ruck. He's a big boy for the Pies, Jackie Murray. Really tall, which is exactly what you want from your rucks. The ball spills out. Stars were lucky enough to get it in the end. Kazazada may have been pushing the back there, but Monson was there to collect it, however. So now it's M. Lewis. Turns the ball over, but not quite. It was a drop mark. Could have been an easy two hands on the Sharon there. But now Garfield can move. They push out to the wing towards Lang. Now you've got Curtis Harper who was screaming for it, and that's a really missed opportunity there as Lewis tries to hit up a player. Couldn't get there in the end, so they're going to go through the wing again, the Stars. Mark taken by Angus Emery. It's going to be his first touch today. There was a really good lead by Jonty Bowe. Bowe, of really famous name within the Garfield Football Club. His dad Neville won 3 flags and a couple B&Fs that cost 300 games. Another uncontested mark. Getting downfield really easily before it's picked off well by Motd, who's played well through the midfield. So it goes once again towards the wing and pushed out of bounds for a throw-in.
And there is Jackson Foon, 16 years of age. Good to see him have an opportunity in the seniors. Coming on 25 minutes now. Just the 3 goals this quarter. 1 for Carew, 1 for Paravicini, and for the Stars, 1 for Sawsey. Shallow throw in. They work it out again. Murfitt to half forward. Should come back the other way, but 2 teammates collided. Destination of the boundary line seems to be the only possibility here. Can't be too long left. Well, we have had a few stoppages in the second half of the quarter. But no goal kicked for over 10 minutes now. Crumb opportunity for Burgoyne. It was brought down in an instance. Howe. Tough. Hard at the footy. Not a lot of meterage on that kick. And now the Stars through the middle. Who can they activate? Out the back, they do. Hand pass from Harper. Now to full forward. It might have the legs. Fitzpatrick will have to get there. It's a point in the end. Even amount of scoring shots. 2-2 Dalyston to 1-3 Garfield. 26 minutes in on the Totally Workwear Pakenham scoreboard. From full back, Clay Tate has a couple of outlets. Took the longer option. Walsh collaborating with a teammate. Out to the wing. Short ball for Storr. Comfortably marks it. Scouting every alternative possible. Now on the left. Holding up in the air again. Plenty of altitude in the kick. And over the line it spills. Paravicini did well to just crash the pack and force it out because he didn't have front position there. Nearly 27 minutes in. It's the Magpies by 5. Low throw in and they'll redo it. Any takeaways, Bailey?
I think both teams have been a bit sloppy with the footy when it really matters. They've turned it over quite a bit, and I think they've lost a couple opportunities to really hit the scoreboard here, but they've just turned it over, and as we mentioned in the pre-game show, wind is a massive factor today, but I think they've just missed a couple chances where they could hit the scoreboard.
Burgoyne to half forward. Bounce avoided every Magpie player except Storr, who buried his opponent Harper in a tackle at half forward / half back, depending on what team you're looking at. And a big tap again. Forward from Verleg. Out to the wing. Monson just bashes it back to the spot where it just was. Burgoyne now to full forward. A lot of distance on the kick. And the mark has been taken, I believe.
That's Foon.
It is Foon. Siren sounds. An opportunity to extend the lead to 11 as they all surround Shaun Burgoyne. Brilliant work by him. But Jackson Foon, 16 years of age. And he's pulled it to the left. And in the end, there's been 2 inexplicable misses, 1 for each side. But after 1, it's 2-3-15 to Dalyston and 1-3 to Garfield. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back with you for the commencement of the second quarter.
Totally Workwear, clothing your hard-working community. 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 Totally Workwear, clothing your...
Oh yeah, it's all around me.
Winterland whisper in my ear, make my troubles all disappear.
This is a story of a community that likes to work hard, digging, fixing, building, keeping people safe, or just lending a hand. A community that all have one place to come together, where they're spoilt for choice and good service is everything. And although there are stores all over Australia, the owners are as local as they come. Totally Workwear, clothing your hard-working community.
I'm going all the way up. Ah, I'm going all the way up. Ah, I'm letting go in my heart. Ah, of everything that holds me down. No, no. And it's feeling like I'm in the roof. I can feel the love. Oh yeah, it's all around me.
Winterland whisper in my ear, make my troubles all disappear.
An interesting first quarter, 2-3 Dalyston, 1-3 Garfield. It's the Magpies by a goal. We saw some signs of Shaun Burgoyne early, but Garfield held up well, Bailey Allen.
Yeah, Garfield, they had a really good quarter. Obviously still desperate for that first win, and you know, with a distraction like Burgoyne, I know he's never played with the team, but just the threat of him being there, it's a really ominous thing to walk into. But they held him accountable, and he couldn't get much of the footy in that first quarter. A bit later on, he started getting away from his man a bit, and he was even able to get a nice inside 50, and it could have been a goal assist if Jackson Foon was to go back and hit that one. But yeah, Silk's played a good game so far.
Yeah, yep. This will be the quarter to just inspect where Garfield are at. They had the wind in the first quarter. They could only manage 1 goal 3, and now the Magpies do. So I'd say if they're trailing by 12 to 18 at half-time, it's a win, just considering the first quarter.
It's a big call, 12 to 18, and they've won. But yeah.
Oh, no, I mean just a minor win in terms of the bigger picture. Yeah.
But yeah, you know, that's not even the thought, what I was thinking. That's not actually too terrible, because this wind is damaging. So, yeah, my goal for Garfield is really just to play how the Maggies did, what their backline did. They just picked off everything. They really need to read the ball well if they want to keep it close. Yeah,
Brendan Walsh, Samir Kazazada, and there was even another in there as we're almost set to go for the second quarter. The Magpies and the Stars up in the ruck. Murray, but Sauter got the better of him, and now the Magpies are away. It's a half forward. Just loping after this is Carew. Didn't mind seeing it out of bounds.
Carew's played a really good performance today, hasn't he, Dylan?
He has. Contender for mark of the day. He's kicked a goal, took another impressive mark as well at the wing.
So, boundary throw-in. Oh, and here's Burgoyne. Oh, it's looking straight. Has he kicked it? Yes, he has. Shaun Burgoyne. Well, I guess you could say that's his first goal because it's his debut today in senior local footy. But if you want to count the others, he's kicked about 300.
Well, this is why everyone's here, to see that. Shaun Burgoyne. He hasn't missed a beat. That was perfect. Goal umpire did not move. And, well, that's a morale boost for them. So worrying signs for Garfield.
And one thing I want to mention, they've really brought Burgoyne into this culture just in the one day. They were all getting around him as the quarter time siren blew. So I'm really liking how he's embracing the game today.
Again, Sauter. This time to Tennis Greenall. Into the pocket, had to bounce obligingly and did for Melrose, but he was met in a tackle. And the crumb, it falls to the Magpies, who can work it out of defence. Now they're approaching the wing, just elegantly across the wing. A backman for them, just right through Carew's legs it did go. Burgoyne this time laying a tackle, is doing a bit of everything. No prior opportunity for Angus Emery. So the Magpies side of the wing, closer to their goal. Won't be for too long, or will it? They're able to chain up the handballs. And Sauter again to half forward. Defence again held up well, but we'll have a boundary throw in. 12 points, the margin over 2 minutes into the second quarter. Burgoyne right in the midst of that pack. Can Murray knock it down to him? He does. Burgoyne, he just missed it as it tunneled through his legs, and barging through was Bow. Kick inside 50 and a big set of knuckles by Walsh, who's been a presence all day in their defence alongside Clay Tate and Samir Kazazada. The wind seems to have settled for a moment, but the jackets are on everywhere, multiple layers. It's not warm out here. Down at the sea, wedged between a couple was one of the Stars. Have a ball up. Just outside the Stars' goal. Burgoyne this time. Hand pass out. It was pinpoint. To the wing now, a one-on-one. Broken up in the air by Jones. But the Magpies, they can continue down the ground, and they do. Carew, one more time, taking a mark. He plays on. He'll poke one to half forward, just slip through the fingers of Paravicini. Crashing through again, Marotta. Hair pass over the top. Howe did well, faked one, stepped inside, kicked into the pocket, where the mark is taken by Mason Storr. He'll snap. Now, there was a miss last quarter. But what does Mason have in store?
So Lang, as we mentioned before, he missed an awfully easy shot. What can Storr do? Oh no, he's almost kicked out in the full. One goes left, the other goes right.
Interesting, he took the drop punt there. I know it would have been a check side for the left footer, but now it seems to be customary. The snap rather than the drop punt. From full back, Jet Pickering. He's got the bandage around his nose. Almost like Brendan Goddard back in 2009 as he runs and kicks to half back. And this is where they just need to hold up for a moment, take their time. Emery at centre half back. This is where most of the turnovers have occurred. Emery down to the wing. Verleg. And now he's off. Extended stroll, almost dispossessed. Managed to get the hand pass away in the nick of time. And just picking it up again. Great tackle. Wallace applying the pressure. The Magpies through Marotta now. But a free kick coming back to the Stars. And it'll be Matthew Jones. Jones, where does he go? Right in front of him to the man on the mark. Great smother. He'll look to rectify the situation. Hand pass across. Emery engulfed by the tackle immediately. And the umpire says ball up just near the centre of Dalyston Recreation Reserve.
So, back to square. That was a really good hit out there by the ruckman in Zach Suter. Not your typical ruckman, but it was a really good hit out. And now the Stars looking to move inside 50, but the back line of the Pies held up well. Now they can push out towards the wing once again. Kicks into space, not a single man there. And look at the speed. That was Suter again, and he's being wrapped up nicely. Holding the ball.
I actually think he thought the runner was a player then, because I did as well for a moment.
What fight from Curtis Murfitt. Pushing the back, so another free kick going in the way of Monson. And you got Pravicini, who's in the long sleeves. Didn't get him in the end. That could have been in the back, and it will. So that is once again Carew who's been good in the forward line today. He's been one of the better Dalyston players, along with a bunch of other names like Isamig, Casadas as well, and Brad Monsons. So inside 50, probably overshot that Burgoyne, almost got it. They're going to count it a mark, They will. I thought there was a lot of fingers on that footy first, but nonetheless, Mason Storr.
Yeah, and he's looking to give it off. He has a second chance. He's further back from where he was. Similar angle, the left footer. Will he centre it? Looking towards goal. One kick one way, this time it's the other. Out on the full.
So, in terms of kicking in front of goals, it's not the day to be Mason Storr so far.
I'm not a footy professional by any means, but to me it looks like a nice approach at goal. Nice action as well. Just hitting the side of the boot twice.
Well, get BT out here. He knows. He knows how a drop's meant to look.
Batson to Scampolino. And they'll hopefully show a clean pair of heels out of here. Jones had an acquaintance in Sutar, who's been everywhere in this last couple of minutes. He will hope to begin a passage of play for the Stars, only temporarily because the Magpies were heavily built back there at the wing, and we'll have a ball up. Over 8 minutes in, Dalyston lead Garfield by 13 points on the Totally Workwear Pakenham scoreboard. They just need a spark, do the Stars. And another ball up. Stop-start in this second quarter. Where's Burgoyne in the midfielder? In the midfield, rather. Again, another ball up. Any observations from this second quarter, Bailey?
It sort of stagnated a bit. Both teams really can't find super good looks other than Mason Storr, who missed on his 2 set shots. And as for Garfield, they just cannot get it down there into the ground, unfortunately. And they're fighting the wind, but it's been a really hard task for them so far as players going to be tackled, so there'll be a ball up.
Another ball up. Burgoyne seems to be having a spell at the moment. Just paddle down, right, hoping to break the shackles, but it was stripped of it. The Stars, this time, if they can pick this up cleanly, they do. Zakari across to a teammate and now to the half-forward line. It was quite a spatial half-forward line. It was cut off for the Magpies. Through the middle they go. Howe had a slither of space, seeded it out in the path of his teammate. Here is Burgoyne, motoring onto it. The ball was too speedy for all of them. And we'll have a throw in 30 metres out from the Magpies' goal. 10 minutes into the second quarter. 22 Dalyston and 9 to Garfield. Another throw in. They'll contend in the air. Sutar again, who got the better of his opponent there, and a strong tackle on Carew. And once again, a throw in at half forward.
So it was, on the previous possession, it was really good movement through the centre by Dalyston. They'll be looking to reap any reward. So boundary throw in. And that's Storr in the ruck there. That's a bit of an unlikely sight there. The players hit the grounds. And another ball up.
Stalemate in the last couple of minutes.
And you can see Burgoyne there. He's not in and around the contest anymore. He's up at half forward. So that's a really big target they can look for. Instead, they find, once again, Jack Paravinci, who's been brilliant down as a key forward today. He's already got a goal. And he can go back for his second. The wind has been a bit of a monster today. But will he fight back? He most certainly will. Slots it back. Even the Inverloch boys down here are getting excited. 28-9 and Garfield, they just cannot get the ball rolling.
No.
And I thought that kick might have gone to Burgoyne inside 50, but no, it was Jack Paravinci who took the contested mark, and he's been brilliant.
2 goals to 0 in this second quarter. And they're on the margin. 19 points. Garfield just need to hold up as well as attack. Back-to-back goals. Certainly a coach killer as well, because they've had chances and they might have another here if their plans can come into fruition. Bow to half forward. Again, the Magpies heavily fortified back there. Nice mark in defence. To the wing again. 1-on-1. Errant ball. Too much for Tate to reach. Another throw in at the wing. Just seems like the Stars' movement isn't flowing as well as it was in the first quarter.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's been really choppy. Other than that centre clearance there, I liked it, but it was picked off far too easily by Lewis Armstrong.
Here they go. Melrose. Taking his time. The seconds dissipate off the clock, though. Just over 13 minutes in now. They all congregate at half forward. And now they link up by hand. Strong tackle again by Harris. And it's at this point, Garfield, they just have to kick a goal to maintain not only hope, but a spot in the game.
Yeah, well, I don't think they've... have they even been able to hit the scoreboard yet, Dill?
No, not this quarter at least. Can they here? No, it was quickly put to rest. Out in the full. Taking the kick in, Burgoyne on the mark. Don't know if he's that tall. Rather, it was Carew on the mark. To the throng. And now the crumb opportunity for Dalton. Nice smother. They're all rabbing in there. Another contest and another ball up. Certainly not the most pleasant second term. Plethora of stoppages. And whistles by the umpire, but making their way out of defence now, the Magpies. To the wing again, similar side, 1-on-1. Good body use by Carew. He'll hunt it down again. An opponent managed to enter the scene first. Out of bounds. 4-4 to 1-3. Nearly 15 minutes into the second quarter. 2 goals to 0 in favour of Dalyston. Garfield have to get on the board. They can't at the moment because the Magpies are inside there. Forward 50. Scampolini out of bounds.
So, crowd is absolutely bustling today for a team that represents the Collingwood Magpies. We've seen a lot of Hawthorn jumpers down here today, of course, in support of Shaun Burgoyne, who is a club legend at both the Power and the Hawks. As they enter inside 50 again, the Pies, can they make anything of it? Maybe not on this occasion. So they kick it out. It was a nice mark taken by a star. It was
Ryan Dalton.
Joel Battinson. He was on the kick. It was composed. Nearly a contested grab. Marotta. Kazadi almost got it. And now they can go through the middle, but they decided to elect for the wing. I thought the centre could have been the smarter option. Handball's over his head. Didn't see where it was going, in fact. And finally, another inside 50 entry. So they really need to make their opportunities here. But the Collingwood defences, the Dalyston defences stood strong all day. So pushing forward, couldn't get it any closer to the goals on that occasion. And a free kick, holding the man, and it'll go towards the Maggies. So Michael Harris was rewarded the free kick. Turns it over almost immediately. Oh,
Emery.
Player was hunting there. Couldn't get in the end. Drop mark. Bit of a sit-up. Armstrong, the bleached hair. He was playing at the G. You might have thought he would be Givenin. Sorry. And taps along. Just trying to get any extra space. Was Paravinsky. Still really tight towards the boundary line. They find Murphy in the end. Then you got Wallace. Hayden, that is. Big lead! Jack Murray. He was like a robot there.
Brute strength.
His eyes never left sight. It was a really good run towards the Sharon, and now he can go back and slot this out. It's about a 50-metre kick. He'd need to have a fair amount of distance on it. But he's got the confidence. Jack Murray, the big ruckman, lets it fly. That's looking good. It's gone through from 50 out. Jack Murray, how good? Jack Murray came from Noble Park, and he's been able to make his senior debut this year after a lot of time in Noble Park's reserves. And what a booming kick from 50 out.
Well, you said plenty of confidence. What a strike. A 25-point lead has opened up for the Magpies. And now times are treacherous for Garfield. Need a goal before half-time. Over 18 minutes in. Should go overtime by a few minutes, you'd think, with all the stoppages, as Dalyston to half forward once again. Digging it out of there with the Stars defenders. To the wing again they go. That time, just rushing full speed at the football. Wrapped in the tackle. In fact, it'll be holding the ball. The Stars now. Just blocking the space of his own teammate there with the Garfield forward line. Burgoyne to return it back to where it previously was. Scampolino was over the line, out of bounds.
And Burgoyne's looked for Foon a couple of times now, which is just great to see. The old veteran and the rookie, you might say.
23 years between the two. Flat throw in. And it worked in favour of Garfield. Bo, Emery to the wing. A towering effort. Couldn't quite rope it in. That was Zakari. And that not only would have been a contender for Mark of the Day, but maybe Mark of the Year.
Yeah, he was certainly looking like it might have gone through at one stage, but just couldn't get enough height on the jump. So ball spilling. No one can really get a clean look here. Eventually, Garfield ended up with the footy. So it's going to push inside 50. They haven't had many entries in this quarter. A free kick will be paid. So Barnes, one of many Jacks playing today. And
almost as many as the Saints list a couple of years ago.
Yeah. It's a famous St Kilda squad, that is, for the amount of Jacks they had. And I know it was a long kick before, and I thought he could have taken the set shot there, but he did in the end. Elected to go a bit closer. I don't think he disguised that very well. He's going from the centre square. Mate, you were not going to kick that. Not at all. So instead, we'll have a boundary throw in. Oh, sorry, a throw up.
And another.
And I'll pass it over to Dill.
Deep inside, the Stars forward 50. Maybe an opportunity revealing for itself. It was shut down and a great tackle. And the Stars muster something at the moment. They're about 45 out. They have the ball. Could have a shot at goal just while the wind is low. We know how in the blink of an eye it can turn the other way. 50 metres out. He hoists it. A lot of distance on it. Right on the goal line is touched. It's still in play. Remains ajar. Right on the line of the Stars' goal. And a throw up in an interesting position for the Stars. If you're a Magpie, do you rush it through? No need. Burgoyne has it under control. To the wing. There was depth on the clearing kick, and they can put it to the wing, can the Stars? Dalton. Had a reference inside. Scampolino. Search and kick around the outer side now to the wing. Pickering. to half forward. They'll have to communicate in the air, and they do. Verleg. And this is what we saw in the first quarter, which was impressive. But now it's past this barricade, which they progress past now. Plenty of players. A slither of space. Is it capitalised on for the Stars? It isn't. They've put it to rest of the Magpies' defence. And a throw has been called. Advantage taken by the Magpies. Pack forms on the wing. And Scampolino again. Short kick, play on the call. Emery had to improvise. He did on the left, out wide. And Kazazani read it best. But they'll have a split second to set it up now, will the Stars, if they can just get this away. But again, Kazazada. A staunch structure, you just can't get past him, Bailey.
And Garfield really missed two big opportunities there. Their forwards just didn't put enough pressure on them. They were right there at goal. You could smell it, but just the pressure from the forwards wasn't good enough. And Burgoyne on the first occasion was able to leak out quite easily.
Here we go. Flying shot at goal, right to the teeth of goal. And now a little away from it as they just edge it forward to the Magpies' defence. There's a snap for the Stars by Verleg. And it's a stray out to the left. But their first score of the quarter comes over 23 minutes in. It's a 4-goal margin, 5-4 to 1-4 on the Totally Workwear Pakenham scoreboard.
So kick in from full back for the Pies. It was a minor score in the previous possession from Garfield. So they kick it really sharply towards the boundary line. Garfield have been able to get a couple turnovers in the past couple of minutes, and that's a mark taken about 50 or so out by Lang, the former Casey Scorpion. And I'm not sure if he's backing himself here. It sure looks like it. So
right on the paint.
Yeah, I did say 50 out before, but maybe 40 or so out on a really tough angle. He's going to need absolutely everything to make this one. This would be huge for Garfield. They need a goal. Lets it fly. That's not looking too bad at all. Goes across the face for a minor score, however.
Really used the wind to his advantage there.
Yeah, just carried it over a bit too much over to the left, I think. So, instead, back with Dalyston. Just assessing his options here. Decides to use the other side of the wing. Does the Pies defender. Ball punched up. They'll get possession here again, the Stars, but the pressure is really good from the Pies here. They might just be able to get it back. So ball rolling along the field. Ground in superb conditions today. As they'll go over the line for a boundary throw in.
Over 25 minutes in. Not too long left.
You can't imagine there would be, and I think you're exactly on the money there, Dill, in that first quarter, that Garfield needed to get a couple more goals because with the wind, they just cannot get it through.
And they head forward again into the pockets. Nice body use. Joel Batson. As we see, all the players around one area of the ground. Not a single player for Garfield on this near side. Brought to ground level, sprawled out on the turf. Was everyone in the mix? Boundary throw in at the wing again. Ticking on 26 minutes now. Still a 23-point lead for the Magpies. 5-4 to 1-5. Nice knockdown, but only to his own detriment because Emery was there for the Stars. Cut off by the defence. And now he has leads. Goes to a few players. Probably not the smartest decision in the end. Inventive kick from the Stars midfielder out of there. Towards the boundary line it goes. And it skips away and out of bounds.
So, not much time left on this clock whatsoever. It's been a somewhat tight contest today. Momentum hasn't really swung at all, but the Pies do sit with about a 23-point lead, I believe it was. So here's Storr. Just didn't read the footy well enough in that instance and coughed up back to Garfield. And there it goes, the siren to end off the first half. The Dalyston Magpies with new addition Shaun Burgoyne sit with 5-4-34. Garfield, however, only 7 points for that quarter, 1-5-11. What did Garfield need to do in this quarter to get it back?
Yeah, fireworks in that second quarter by the Magpies. All started with that Shaun Burgoyne goal. And since then, they kicked 4 in the quarter. Garfield could only manage the 2 behinds as they will enter the halftime rooms. A big speech needed for Garfield. They'll just have to up the intensity, the ferocity at the footy that we saw in that first quarter, because they did kick a goal in the first. They'll have the wins next quarter again, and we'll be able to talk about it in a couple of minutes. We'll take a quick break. At halftime, it's the Dalyston Magpies 5-4-34 to the Garfield Stars 1-5-11.
This is a story of a community. A community that likes to work hard. Digging, fixing, building, keeping people safe, or just lending a hand. A community that all have one place to come together, where they're spoilt for choice and good service is everything. And although there are stores all over Australia, the owners are as local as they come. Totally Workwear, clothing your hard-working community.
I'm going all the way up. I'm going all the way up. I'm letting go in my heart of everything that holds me down. And it's feeling like I'm in the groove. I can feel the love. Oh yeah, it's all around me.
Winterland whisper in my ear, make my troubles all disappear.
This is a story of a community that likes to work hard. Digging, fixing, building, keeping people safe, or just lending a hand. A community that all have one place to come together, where they're spoilt for choice and good service is everything. And although there are stores all over Australia, the owners are as local as they come. Totally Workwear, clothing your hard-working community.
I'm going all the way up. I'm going all the way up. I'm letting go in my heart of everything that holds me down. And it's feeling like I'm in the groove. I can feel the love. Oh yeah, it's all around me.
Winterland whisper in my ear, make my troubles all disappear.
This is a story of a community that likes to work hard. Digging, fixing, building, keeping people safe, or just lending a hand. A community that all have one place to come together, where they're spoilt for choice and good service is everything. And although there are stores all over Australia, the owners are as local as they come. Totally Workwear, clothing your hard-working community.
I'm going all the way up. Ah, I'm going all the way up. Ah, I'm letting go in my heart. Ah, of everything that holds me down. No, no. And it's feeling like I'm burning up. I can feel the love. Oh yeah, it's all around me.
Winterland whisper in my ear, make my troubles all disappear.
This is a story of a community that likes to work hard, digging, fixing, building, keeping people safe, or just lending a hand. A community that all have one place to come together, where they're spoilt for choice and good service is everything. And although there are stores all over Australia, the owners are as local as they come. Totally Workwear, clothing your hard-working community.
I'm going all the way up. Ah, I'm going all the way up. Ah, I'm letting go in my heart. Ah, of everything that holds me down. No, no. And it's feeling like I'm burning up. I can feel the love. Oh yeah, it's all around me.
Winterland whisper in my ear, make my troubles all disappear.
This is a story of a community that likes to work hard, digging, fixing, building, keeping people safe, or just lending a hand. A community that all have one place to come together, where they're spoilt for choice and good service is everything. And although there are stores all over Australia, the owners are as local as they come. Totally Workwear, clothing your hard-working community.
I'm going all the way up. Ah, I'm going all the way up. Ah, I'm letting go in my heart. Ah, of everything that holds me down. No, no. And it's feeling like I'm burning up. I can feel the love. Oh yeah, it's all around me.
This is a story of a community that likes to work hard, digging, fixing, building, keeping people safe, or just lending a hand. A community that all have one place to come together, where they're spoilt for choice and good service is everything. And although there are stores all over Australia, the owners are as local as they come. Totally Workwear, clothing your hard-working community.
I'm going all the way up. I'm going all the way up. I'm letting go in my heart of everything that holds me down. And it's feeling like I'm in the roof. I can feel the love. Oh yeah, it's all around me.
Winterland whisper in my ear, make my troubles all disappear.
This is a story of a community that likes to work hard, digging, fixing, building, keeping people safe, or just lending a hand. A community that all have one place to come together, where they're spoilt for choice and good service is everything. And although there are stores all over Australia, the owners are as local as they come. Totally Workwear, clothing your hard-working community.
I'm going all the way up. I'm going all the way up. I'm letting go in my heart of everything that holds me down. And it's feeling like I'm in the roof. I can feel the love. Oh yeah, it's all around me.
Winterland whisper in my ear, make my troubles all disappear.
This is a story of a community that likes to work hard, digging, fixing, building, keeping people safe, or just lending a hand. A community that all have one place to come together, where they're spoilt for choice and good service is everything. And although there are stores all over Australia, the owners are as local as they come. Totally Workwear, clothing your hard-working community.
I'm going all the way up. I'm going all the way up. I'm letting go in my heart of everything that holds me down. And it's feeling like I'm in the roof. I can feel the love. Oh yeah, it's all around me.
This is a story of a community that likes to work hard, digging, fixing, building, keeping people safe, or just lending a hand. A community that all have one place to come together, where they're spoilt for choice and good service is everything. And although there are stores all over Australia, the owners are as local as they come. Totally Workwear, clothing your hard-working community.
I'm going all the way up. I'm going all the way up. I'm letting go in my heart of everything that holds me.
1 half down, 1 to go here at Dalyston. It's the Magpies leading Garfield by 23 points. Here with Bailey Allen alongside me. What's the analysis been, Baz, at half-time? What can Garfield do?
Well, Garfield, they just need to take a bit more composure. I mean, both sides do. They've been turning the footy over a lot today, especially with the use of the foot. The handballs haven't been too bad, but a lot of turnovers, and they weren't able to score much, were the Stars in the last quarter. But to be fair, they, of course, had the win, so it was always going to be a difficult task.
Late in that previous quarter, they had multiple chances. One kick went to the left, another to the right. And to be honest, up here, it could have been even worse. There was 2 shots at goal, and they went either side of the post. One out in the full, one was a minor score.
It was by Storr.
Yeah, that's right, Mason Storr. So it could very well be 7 goals to 1.
Yeah, it's the Pies, especially their back line, have stood out all day. In particular, Samir Kazazada. He has been an absolute pillar down there for the Maggies, and not much has got past him.
No, Brendan Walsh as well. He's been attacking the footy with pace in the back line. Even Clay Tate putting his body on the line. It's probably more of a testament to their defence, because the entries, they haven't been terrible for Garfield. And we say 1 goal 5, the conversion rate is poor, and that's because of the defence. It's not because the kicks are wildly inaccurate. They have been right to the top of the goal square, and those men, Brendan Walsh, even Lewis Armstrong was back there once, Clay Tate, and then Samir Kazazada. Yeah, Brad Monson as well. It's going to be difficult to pinpoint a 3 votes player today, even 2 votes and 1 vote. At the moment, Shaun Burgoyne still on the radar, and those backmen are holding up very well as Dalyston will enter the arena.
Well, yeah, Burgoyne hasn't dominated, but he's been really handy.
Yeah.
He's got a fair bit of the footy, got a couple of clearances, had that great goal from about 35 or so out in that second quarter as well. So he's played a good contest today.
Almost reminiscent of McCaffrey and Oxley last week.
Yeah, that's a good observation. They really held their own down back against a really good Phillip Island side. Maybe not on that day. They played poor last week, but usually they're pretty on par, the Doggies.
Now, does Shaun Burgoyne begin this second half in the midfield? Do they swing him forward? Do they even give him an opportunity up back?
Well, of course, he played a little bit of everywhere throughout his career. He played a bit of half back in the midfield, and in that second quarter, they chucked him down in half forward, and that's where he was able to get that goal. And yeah, it's not a terrible idea to chuck him back into the middle either. He went back in towards the end of that quarter, and he got a really good clearance exiting Garfield's inside 50 entries, or 50 area, I should say. And yeah, for a guy with that much experience, you'd expect for him to be composed, and that's exactly what he's brought.
Perfect Saturday afternoon. We've got Dalyston and Garfield, and then in the AFL there's 2 clashes, and in a moment we will bring you the scores from around the ground. Dalyston in their huddle, Garfield now. And the tent has held up well, Bailey.
Yeah, I've got this the right side of my tent. It's smacked into me a couple of times. Isn't very fond of me, but other than that, it's doing all right. The Lions Club tent, I rate it. It's held strong.
Well, crucial for both sides. Garfield, they just want to get a win on the board, and Dalyston, if they can get the ball rolling, is on the edge of the second half of the season. And those scores around the ground will be brought to you in a moment.
And Si's just fighting for some points here. I don't think it's, especially not for Garfield, but I don't think it's really realistic expectation for either of these teams to make finals.
Yeah, Inverloch beating Warragul Industrials 29-8 at the moment.
Yeah, they're beating them 29-28.
29-8.
Oh, 2-8. Okay, I was going to say Warragul have really brought up to Inverloch there, but yeah, that makes sense.
Kilcunda beating Corranborough 51-23. That's over at Kilcunda. Coralin are defeating Kuwi Rupp by 10 points out at Kuwi Rupp at halftime. Narnagoon and Turin are tied 7-4 apiece. And
top of the table clash.
And over at Phillip Island, they lead Bunyip by 38 points at halftime. We'll keep you updated and posted on those scores. But in the meantime, let's get back to action.
Here's Burgoyne right through the middle again. That's where he'll be playing for this quarter, we assume. So out towards the wing. Garfield sells a little bit of the candy there. That was clever. I liked it. And then takes the mark there was Zach Dalton. With Burgoyne on the mark. He's able to find a man in Joseph Verleg who is running onto the footy. Low cutting kick. Oh, Lang almost got the footy there. And Barnes may have been held. He charges through the Garfield star. And then could be holding the ball. Had a bit of prior, but umpire disagrees and calls it back. So been a really, really good start for Garfield in this third quarter. Deep inside 50 already. Here's Barnes. Bit off target, and that was far too easy for Brad Monson, who dropped back and kicked, marked it.
Monson again. That defence. No need to put Burgoyne back there. They have it under ropes at the moment. Out to the wing. Nice mark by Mason Storr. Looks to be making amends for those 2 misses earlier in the first half. From a standing start, a strong leap by the Stars, and now they'll interchange through hands to centre half forward. Just overrunning the footy was Walsh, and his teammate was there to back him up in Murfitt. To the wing now. Ford had the luxury of some space and time over to Walsh, and then in the hands of Howell, who's honouring the voice of a teammate at half forward. And he looks like he has the ability to kick it from here. He's certainly confident about it. He'd be right on the paint of 50. Hayden Wallace.
So 18 games played. Kicked a bag of 5 against Currumborough Beena in round 5.
Difficult angle. Wrong side for a right footer. Man on the mark, just on the 50. He gives it everything he has. It's a goal. And what a kick it was. Hayden Wallace gets the first on the board for the Magpies, and that opens up a 29-point lead, 6-4-40 to 1-5-11 on the Totally Workwear Pakenham scoreboard.
And he judged the win beautifully there. He knew that he had to kick it a bit more off to the right of goals because he knows that the wind was going to absolutely thrash that footy over to the left side. So he judged that perfectly, Hayden Wallace, and he definitely deserves that goal after a brilliant kick on a set shot.
And as Garfield have an opportunity to evaporate right in front of their eyes, Hayden Wallace launches one from 50 as Burgoyne flattens his opponent there on the ground. And another ball up. Murray to tangle with his opponents. Escaping was Dalton. He was almost prevented. And now just eluding one. Some nice footwork. Midfielder for the Stars. Verleg now at half forward. He'll thrash it deep to full forward. And a nice mark by Nicholas Long.
And Lang, he missed a snap.
Rather Lang.
Yeah, I did notice Long, but I was going to let it slide. Lang, he missed a fairly easy shot earlier on in the game, and this is an opportunity to answer back at the Pies. The Stars, they really need it.
Every bit of it do they need to get some momentum back on the board. It's a goal. No, it's not. The flags were up behind the goal. And the proper flags now signal are behind.
The cheer squad were going bananas. They thought it was 6 points for certain. So from full back goes Tate. Long high kick towards the wing. Murray almost took a really impressive mark there, but was just off it. So we'll have a boundary throw in right in front of the Toyota sponsorship sign. So throws it up. It's a nice throw in from the umpire there. I rated it. And then there'll be another stoppage, and we want a free-flowing game. There was a lot of stoppages in that second quarter, and footy wasn't able to flood through nicely throughout the oval.
Seems to have opened up early in this third quarter, though.
Yeah, which has been good. Garfield and Dalyston have been able to have their own looks at goals, but as we sit here towards left half forward, it has just calmed down a little bit. Murray almost tapped it out. Motd had a really good first quarter. Oh, he's ran down there. That's got to be holding the ball, and in fact it is. I was just about to say Motd had a really good first quarter, and it's off to a bit of a slow start in the third. Oh, what a smother. He dived for it. The courage and the fight. Doesn't have the footy. It was Murfitt. No free kick paid. He gets it regardless. So Tate tried to find any Magpie player there. Instead, it was turned over. So ball tapped out towards the centre square. They've got to get it off here before it's another turnover. They were too late. Murray through the middle. Long and high. Not quite. And they wanted, the Stars thought it might have been dragged in, but umpire disagrees. My ball.
Again in the centre of the oval. Murray up in the air. Floated for a moment. Wallace just slipped out of his grasp. Again they go, but the tackles, they amount, as does the congestion. Motd out of there. Could be the exponent for another goal. Burgoyne threatening. Red lights flashing everywhere when he's around. Disappointingly, he passed it off. Carew, centering ball to the hot spot. Wasn't a favourable bounce. It makes its way out the back door. And it's locked away for a ball up about 20 metres out from the Magpies' goal as they hold a 28-point lead. Just under 7 minutes in. Palmed down. Burgoyne loitering. Couldn't quite get their hands to the football. Again, they go up. A nice rise. The defence holding up. They'll have to skedaddle quickly, and they do. Back to the centre of the ground. It'll be on its way back through Tate, who was standing right underneath that ball. The fly from the back. Couldn't quite rake it in. Paravicini laterally across to centre-half forward, which transforms into centre-half back as Zakari makes his way out. A little indecisive, and now beautiful ball for Verleg in the centre of this oval. So he just tried to prod one, but it was cut off by Motd, who may have hurt himself. In the meantime, Ireland high up and under and camped underneath. For another contender of mark of the day was Paravicini. So he thwarts it to full forward. It goes to the left a little. And the defence again able to escape to a 2-on-1. In the end, the numbers, they worked better for Garfield. Trickling ball up the wing. Another 1-on-1. Strong body use from the defence. And they'll hand pass again, as do Garfield. If they can just retain possession for a moment here, they could construct a coherent attack. But now the Magpies go through Walsh, who chips one short, and the mark is taken by a teammate at the wing.
So, what do they do here? The Pies, they've been playing a really good quarter so far. Pack collapsed as the footy was rolling in towards them. And two players wrapped out on the wing for a boundary, for a throw up, I should say. So tapped out. We'll have another stoppage for a ball up.
Centre wing again. 28 points the margin over 9 minutes into this third quarter. Leaving with the footy are the Magpies. Tate. He kicks it about 20 metres for Burgoyne. Look at that. Class. Into the pocket now he goes. Was just held up in the wind. Only for a short stint of time. And now it's in a pack as the whistle blows calling for a ball up.
So we sit just inside the Dalyston 50. Ball up, nearing the pocket. Garfield, they have a lot of numbers here, but still can't seem to get a clean way out. Another stoppage. And players will return back to their positions. Murray in the ruck, he's been good today. So tapped over. Here's Foon. He's got Burgoyne there. It's a good handball, but maybe just not enough space as Burgoyne had to take it over the boundary line.
Couldn't brush off that tackle, Shaun.
He's an absolute superstar of this game. A legend. As another boundary throw in. Murray. No one won that hit out as Burgoyne. He sockers it out and hits someone right on the chest.
Ford.
It was Ethan Ford. So now he can either go for a set shot here, and it looks like he will.
Yeah, he looks like he's in two minds here. Yeah, that was the other mind. Seeding it off into the path of Tate. Right to the goal mouth. Again, it just fell short. And at half back is Melrose, who surveys all the options ahead of him. To the wing. And Howell had to sit the entire time. Did not need to move. It just fell right into his lap. Matthew Howell. It's a clean ball. It was very tidy. Fashionable service, you could say, for Paravicini. Inboard for Wallace. He just kicked a monstrous goal early on in this quarter. And again, it sails right to the teeth of goal, where the mark is taken. And that was the methodical approach that will please the coach. Blake Carew, plenty of marks, and he smashes it forward. Good luck retrieving that one. But the Magpies have a 34-point lead under 12 minutes into the third quarter. 7-4 to 1-6 on the Totally Workwear Pakenham scoreboard.
I know there's a lot of time left in this one, but I'm just about ready to say Garfield might be done for this one. The performances just haven't been good enough going forward. Haven't had a lot of composure, and this Pies defence has stood tall all day, and the forwards are just no match for it, unfortunately. So the situation looking dire for the Stars.
Yep.
On the other hand, the Dalyston Magpies are absolutely flying with Shaun Burgoyne, the former Port Adelaide power player and Hawthorn Hawk. Hit out one by the Stars. Trickles inside 50. You got Barnes there who was lurking. Couldn't get it a clean look in the ends. Trying to find a teammate was the Pies defender. Didn't have the footy there. That's got to be a free kick, and it is. So going in the way of Jonty Bowe. It's actually Ian Melrose. Thought a free kick might have gone to him in the end, and doesn't look 100% on the set shot. I think he might be looking for an easier option. And no, he's actually going to go for goal here, and I don't think that's going to have the distance. Oh, it does! I have caught it completely wrong. Ian Melrose has let it fly off about 1 or 2 steps, and it's just had the legs. And the Garfield cheer squad, or I should say the Garfield Rezzies, are going really passionate fans down there.
The benefits of deception. He did not look like he wanted to kick a goal.
He did. He looks like he had zero confidence to go back and slot that, but
only one player on the line as well. If there was 3 or 4, I wouldn't have given that goal a chance.
Those are the goals you need if you're a Garfield side who are down by a fair margin. As Burgoyne was just talking to his Dalyston teammates. The tackle laid, couldn't get a clean dish off by hands, and remain in the centre square for a ball up. So umpire resumes play. Charging through the midfield are the Stars. This looks like a really good opportunity. Just need to capitalise, but instead it was Brendan Walsh.
But I like the intent.
It was a lot more dangerous, that movement was, for the Stars. Walsh moved nicely. Murfitt finds an uncontested man in Lachlan Wright.
Haven't called his name too many times. Today, another 50-metre penalty.
Yeah, he knocks Murfitt down there. That was silly. So,
Lachlan Wright.
His debut year as a senior footy player. And decides to just dump it off. Oh, it was a strong lead there, but couldn't get the two hands in the ends. And we'll have a ball up. So they've really put themselves in this position here, Garfield, because that was just an unnecessary 50. Burgoyne looking to shoot towards goal, but no one can get two hands on it. Pushes outside of the 50. That was a really interesting choice there by Mason Storr. Goes across the wing to Jack Barnes. He then finds an opposition player in Lewis Armstrong with the bleached hair. That's one of your contenders for Mark of the Day. And then he kicks it across to Kazizada. And then just little chip-to-chip footy here. Playing slow and methodical. And now they can go. They're out here. M. Lewis kicks it out towards half forward. No real opportunity opening itself there, but he's got the legs here there with Verleg. Really likes that run. So just no intent by the forwards there. You got to sprint out at it, boys. But now an opportunity. Verleg, open look at goal. Are they in this? The Stars. What class. The wind didn't even move. It went straight through the middle, and we've got a bit of an interesting clash now. Garfield is starting to claw their way back in it.
Well, we did notice it, didn't we? After that last goal, they entered the 50 again, and there was more movement. We've said a lot about movement today, but I'll continue to come back to it. Some boisterous fans behind the goal.
And with such a big crowd here in Dalyston today for Shaun Burgoyne, and there's so many Pies fans around, that is the support you need for your forwards.
Yeah, not an easy task, is it? Against Dalyston, 0-9. Dalyston are 1-8. But then you have Shaun Burgoyne as well, who's been implemented into the side as they all just pile on top of each other in the centre of the ground. We'll have another ball up, but now there's been something injected into this game. 7-4 to 3-6 on the Totally Workwear Pakenham scoreboard. Here they go again. Tannis Greenall to the wing. It's a 2-on-1. Verleg again. Almost a little bit of whiplash. He hit his head on the turf, but he seems to be all right. Bounced back up on his feet. Lewis to half forward. And they can plot themselves a trackway out of here, can Garfield, if they just secure the footy. But Dalyston do this time. A free kick going the way of the Magpies. Curtis Murfitt. Rather, Lachlan Wright. Murfitt gave it off to him. And here is Murfitt providing some protection. And as we just wait for the adjudication here, Murfitt just had to clear out. So Wright will retake the kick. Over 18 minutes in now. And they've clawed back to 22 points of Garfield. Outstretched was Jack Murray. Shuffling through the options. And in the end, he just chisels it inside. Maybe a little futile because the defence held up. And now they can attack, can the Magpies. Kick was smothered. Back out to the wing, a 2-on-2. Garfield may be the beneficiary of this. Just tapped along the ground right in front of their feet and clamouring out of there was Ford. And they all just barrel into each other. Intensity certainly rising here. Burgoyne rather Tate, to centre half forward. And the mark or a free kick, take your pick, has been paid. It'll be Hayden Wallace, who we know has the distance. This time, the angle will suit him. Or it won't be Wallace. Off to a partner.
Oh, it's Storr.
Ethan. Yeah, Mason Storr. Now, he's had chances from either side of this. One out on the full. One nearly out in the full. But now, straight in front. To give them a bit of a cushion. And he has. Mason Storr. Bit of a morale boost for him as the team just corral him. It's a 28-point lead for the Magpies.
Now, after two disappointing misses earlier in this game, one went off to the left, other one went off to the right. The third one, right down the middle. So, that is the confidence boost that you need if you're Mason Storr. He's a left footer, and he kicked Dalyston's 2 goals last week, and it was the only 2 goals of the game for that losing side against Coralline.
Yeah, third time's a charm. Back in the middle. The Magpies, if they can just allocate this to a player, they do, but he was buried into the turf. Ball just bobbles around. Eventually it's bottled up. Bow. Back into the centre of the ground. Necessary intervention by the Magpies midfield. Burgoyne withstood a couple. Lewis to centre half forward. Kind bounce in the end. Has to behave again, and it does. And then he is just constrained in the tackle. And it's holding the ball. The crowd are unhappy. They were playing for a high free kick. Comfortable mark. Now unguarded. Garfield to half forward. Taps around. Walsh had to be composed and was, as was Tate. Just a measuring ball, and it'll be a mark, so it is paid. We were waiting for the decision, and Paravicini can take the free kick. On the wing he is. He has the short lead if he wants. He went a little longer. Not beyond the 50. In fact, it's right on the arc. Again, it's just dislodged from the pack. No one can get it under their control, and now they do. A snap out of the pack, and it's extremely wide. It's out in the full.
So, it's an overcast day. 22 minutes into this third quarter. Not a bunch of scoring, you'd say, but still being a good contest between two sides who really need a win. Of course, Dalyston only have the one for the year, and Garfield still yet to get a W. So they sit bottom of the ladder. So, little chip kick. And then cut it centre. Oh, it was nearly intercepted. But it was lucky that Zach Dalton was able to grab it well enough. And that's a really good grab again by Matthew Howell. So he's just instructing his players to move to the left. Boots it forward. That's a really big kick. No one could get the mark in the end. And be a touch behind for a minor score. So now it is Jet Pickering to take the kick from fullback. He debuted in the May of last year, and he only played 3 games so far this year. Hasn't missed a game since round 2. And a mark
Walsh again.
Taken by Walsh.
All day.
It's been really good down back, as we've mentioned before. Him and Samir Kaziata. So they just push it further down the wing. Another mark taken, this time by Mason Storr, who kicked the last goal of the game. Inside 50, and that's, once again, another very good contested grab. Taken by Garfield this time.
Yeah, we've seen quite the amount of contested grabs in defence today.
Yeah.
Walsh, Tate,
There have been some. There have been.
Casazada.
Sorry, mate. There have been some silly turnovers, but there have also been ones where it's just been good defence from either team.
Is there another one there? Not that time. Should be able to handle the footy. Only for a moment. Escorted over the line, out of bounds. 24.5 minutes in. Dalyston 8-5-53. Garfield 3-6-24 on the Totally Workwear Pakenham scoreboard. Of course, a new store in Pakenham has just opened. Be sure to check that out. Sliding at ground level. Seemed to be relatively hazardous. In the end, everyone is all right. Back up on their feet, and the ball sits on its end. At half forward, we'll have a throw in.
So stoppage out here on the wing. All Garfield need here is a clearance to get a clean look for a scoring shot. Burgoyne, he's chasing, not before the siren is blown. Thought that was a rather short quarter, but 25 minutes it is. So Dalyston have the lead, 8-5-53 plays. Garfield's 3-6-24. It's been somewhat of a tight contest all day. We'll see if Garfield can answer here in this final quarter, or can Shaun Burgoyne lead his side to a victory. We'll take a short break.
Winterland whisper in my ear, make my troubles all disappear.
This is a story of a community that likes to work hard, digging, fixing, building, keeping people safe, or just lending a hand. A community that all have one place to come together, where they're spoilt for choice and good service is everything. And although there are stores all over Australia, the owners are as local as they come. Totally Workwear, clothing your hard-working community.
I'm going all the way up. Ah, I'm going all the way up. Ah, I'm letting go in my heart. Ah, of everything that holds me down. No, no. And it's feeling like I'm burning enough. I can feel the love. Oh yeah, it's all around me.
Winterland whisper in my ear, make my troubles all disappear.
This is a story of a community.
Three quarters down, one to play. 29 points is the lead for Dalyston, which may not seem like a whole lot, Bailey Allen, but Garfield, they've only kicked 3 goals for the day. It's not an impossible challenge, but they need to get going early.
Yeah, and that means they've really got to capitalise on their opportunities. We've said it a lot of times today, but just entering inside 50, they've looked just rather undangerous at all. Their forwards haven't been able to provide enough pressure and lay enough tackles inside 50 to lock it inside. And for most of the day, Dalyston have just been able to exit right back inside and often score a goal of their own. So Garfield's forwards really need to pick up if they want to get a win today.
The man of the moment in the spotlight, Shaun Burgoyne. He's kicked the 1 goal. He's had a few clearances and nifty handballs and kick setups inside 50. What have you made of his day?
Sorry, I didn't catch the name.
Burgoyne.
Burgoyne? Oh, sorry. I was thinking of someone else there for a sec. Yeah, Shaun Burgoyne, I wouldn't actually say he'd be best on ground for today. He's kicked a magnificent goal before, and he's got a lot of clearances and a lot of touches as well. But, yeah, I think some of the Pies defenders have just been that little bit better today.
Yeah, we've mentioned them all day, but Samir Casazada, Clay Tate, Brendan Walsh in that third quarter, all prolific in that defence that has been bolstered by, well, the influence has been bolstered by Shaun Burgoyne, maybe playing to impress out there, but no, they have certainly played a major role in today's game, holding the defence, or rather the offence, to 24 for Garfield.
When I said before that I don't think he's been best on ground, he certainly deserves a vote today.
Yeah.
Burgoyne, he's played great.
Yep.
I'd give him 1 or 2 today so far, unless he's to absolutely dominate this fourth quarter and kick a couple and maybe get a couple more touches. But, yeah, I'd probably give him the 1 or 2 today so far.
And what would be needed to kick him out of the top 3?
Not a lot. Maybe a kick out on the full a couple times. maybe a couple behinds. Then he might fall out of favour, but no, I doubt it. He's had a really good game today.
There's about 6 or 7 Dalyston players that I can see would be up for the voting.
Yeah, and like there's even been some players that, you know, are definitely not in the consideration, but they've played really good games. Like Michael Murata, for example. Yeah. He's been pretty good through the midfield, but I wouldn't consider him for the 3 votes, or any of the votes for that matter. But he's provided some good clearance work today. Even
Jack Murray in the ruck.
Yeah,
If it's not Jesse Orchard-Moore, if you've just joined us, there's 2 number 28s listed on the side, and we've been going with Murray all day.
He looks like a Jack.
What do you need to classify as a Jack?
I don't know. I just got a feeling, eh?
Intuition?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just the long hair gives me off big Jackie boy vibes, not a Jesse vibe.
Burgoyne in the midfield. Looks very relaxed. Does Shaun, because they do hold a 29-point lead. Entering the fourth quarter, and they will be kicking to your left of screen. And the Garfield defence, they've held up reasonably well as well. To hold Dalyston to 53 at 3-quarter time. Just waiting for the all clear.
I think it's because some fans are still exiting the field.
Yeah, a bit of a hush in the crowd at the moment. Has been in the last few quarters. Plenty of stoppages and minutes where there was only disputes where the ball could not be extracted. We'll see what can happen in this fourth quarter. And now the umpire ready to go. Holds up the Sharon with the one hand. And now throws it up with the other. Knocked down. Garfield immediately just constricted in the tackle was Fitzpatrick. And a stoppage 8 seconds in. Murray in the ruck, contending in the air against Dalton, who had a bigger piece of it, carving his way through. Lewis to the wing. Not too much yardage gained. A little unlucky for Bo there. Looked like he just ripped it out of the pack, but the whistle beat him to it. Dalton again. Soares rode out the tackle. Speaking of tackles.
So, what can Garfield do here? They really need an early score as Burgoyne let out the pack beautifully. Now, He can chuck it onto his right. Here's Murray playing down at full forward this quarter. He runs Motd off to the left. And if he took his time a bit more, I knew he had a player right on his backside, but...
How's the slick hands?
Yeah, it
Perfect pickup. It wasn't the greatest bounce either.
Yeah. Certainly rate it. Motd, if you're just joining us, he missed a goal off to the left of face and he's played a good game through the middle today. So kicking from full-back was Jet Pickering. Then it goes to Curtis Harper. And they're going to turn it over here on the wing. Not before the ball is dropped. M. Lewis. And then crunching a tackle was a Magpie. Not before it goes out of bounds, however. So the Pies lead by 30 points over the Stars. A big performance would be needed to get a win today for Garfield, who, as we mentioned before, remain winless. It's kicked out of the contest by a Star. Spins around, trying to find anyone in the green and yellow. But instead it goes to the black and white, an occasion that's happened many times today. Carew looking for the footy. Is that out of bounds on the full?
Should
It's
be.
not.
No.
Be a boundary throw-in actually, deep inside 50 for the Magpies. So now you've got Jack Murray in the ruck again. He's gone up forward for this quarter. Really low boundary throw-in. Thought an opportunity could have presented itself there, but instead he'll have almost an exact repeat of the situation we just had. Murray, who's been dominant in the ruck today, going against Zach Suter, who hasn't played too badly himself. Who's going to win this hit out? Murray does, but Garfield read the ball really well and were able to exit, not before it is once again turned over, this time ending up with Ethan Ford and a clean lead just over the hands of Carew. They exit again. What can they do this time? They need to move the footy cleanly. No turnovers allowed. Kicks it into space. Ball tumbling towards the boundary line, but can they get possession first? Doesn't look like it. Getting awfully close to the line, and Ethan Ford will take it over.
Strong running from Ford. He was just up here at half forward, and as you said, he took it over. And they just need little 1%ers like that. Doesn't show up on the score sheet. But it all adds to their overall effort. Out of the ruck, punched out of there. And Murray again sliding in. Ball up. Again, it's just disentangled from the pack. Garfield, they can slowly move it forwards. A punishing kick from Fitzpatrick. Outstretched. Probably a mark that should have been taken. In the end, it wasn't. And Armstrong across the face of goal. And it's still lurking there for the Stars. And it's a point. So they level it in this final quarter, 1 point apiece.
That could have been goal of the day. It was a long dribble up, but just didn't have the accuracy in the end. So another kick out towards the wing. Players were flying towards the footy. Burgoyne is really close to it. If he gets a touch of it, he's going to clear it. It's been like that all day.
Oh, big hit off the ball on Fitzpatrick.
And I can't say I got sight of that, but I did see a little pushback against Fitzpatrick just then. So maybe some tensions rising here. And I think that's a dangerous tackle. Ripping the ball free. And he's not letting go of Michael Motd.
Yeah.
And that was Zach Dalton. So
Ireland versus Dalton as well, yeah.
the tensions seem to be rising as Lockie Ireland, not an Irishman, might I just say, or not as far as I'm concerned. And then he chips it over to Curtis Murfitt and finds Ireland again. So he's had a couple touches early in this fourth quarter. Murfitt needs to bounce the ball. Kicks it back, and Jack Murray was nowhere near quick enough to get in the way of Angus Emery, who took an uncontested mark.
Quite the technique as well. Spread the legs,
Yeah.
bracing for contact. To half back, Pickering inside, half volley, and he just missed it. Did Suter. The Magpies negotiating with each other through the centre. Paravicini extricating the footy to centre half forward. And the mark at the end by the defence. Now Garfield, they can relish this space. It was only momentary. Out to the wing. Hand pass and fishing it out again was Bow. Straddling the line are the Stars. It's a bouncing ball. It's out in the full.
So,
Anything in this fourth quarter that you've noticed? Maybe some structural change?
not really. It's still been pretty back and forth. A lot of turnovers still. But no, nothing I've really noticed. But how about you, Dill?
No, nothing too much. Just that man, Jack Murray, he's got an appetite for the footy in this fourth quarter. Just hampering the man on the ground there. And another ball up outside, half forward. Right in front of Garfield's interchange bench. Plenty of jumpers surrounding this footy. They multiply again. Another ball up, same position. As you said before, tensions are rising. We didn't see this in the first three quarters. Again, the ball just jigs around. And maybe copping a hit to the face did Ethan Ford. Was Ethan Ford. He springs back up. Overcast day. 29-point lead for the Magpies. Nearly 8 minutes into this last quarter. Shaun Burgoyne now playing in the back half, rather the forward half for Dalyston, and he might have an opportunity here. A one-on-one. It's a foot race. First to the ball was it Walsh? It's still in there, rather right. Kept alive. The defence did well again. Pickering now to the wing, the far side. Melrose. Couldn't quite clean it up. It was a bit of an untidy kick. The Magpies to half forward again. Lewis. Good commitment to stay with it. And now lays it out for right again. Couldn't quite take the mark. Bit of a perilous kick in the end. A lot of tackles being laid. And they escape to half forward once again. And another ball in, nearly 9 minutes played in this last quarter.
So, lights now on in this dark Saturday afternoon. Really, really grey-looking clouds here at Dalyston. It is cold and it is windy down here at the coast of Victoria. And that's a great tackle laid by Lachlan Wright, who's had a really good final term, and another good tackle laid and holding the ball. So it was really good intensity. They're then able to find an open man in Hayden Wallace, who...
Does he have this journey?
Yeah, he kicked a really big set shot before, but instead he's going to find an open man in Blake Carew. And he probably has mark of the day, I'll be honest.
Perfect kick, wasn't it, from Hayden Wallace?
Yeah, he threaded the needle there, and Blake Carew goes off to the left a little bit. Looking for a set shot here. I think it's going to be his second of the day if he makes it. Car horns tuning to cause a distraction, but absolutely no worries for that, man. And this one's pretty much all but done now. So the Maggies now hit the scoreboard 60-25. And Blake Carew, I reckon he'd actually be in my vote today. He's played a really, really good game up at half forward, and he slots another one for his second of the day.
Yeah, well, they've just eradicated any flame that was remaining. 35 points for Dalyston is the lead under 11 minutes in on the Totally Workwear Pakenham scoreboard. Another ball up. In the middle of the ground. Burgoyne had a man standing in front of him, so he was denied access to the ball. Floats around and just getting a kick out of there. Wasn't a very defining kick, and the umpire agreed. It's a ball up. Similar position to where it all started. Just slapping it forward. And now carving their way through a Garfield. It's still alive in there. Doing well to intervene, Zakari. And now he wheels onto the left. Beautifully placed for his teammate to put it forward. And a mark or a free kick has been paid. Illegally obstructed was Brendan Walsh again. Short chip. Ford. High ball up the chimney. Should be taken out here. And it is.
And you mentioned Burgoyne coming out of my votes earlier in the quarter, and I think he might have. I'm not sure if he's done enough in this quarter because Walsh and Samir Kazazada have been really good, and Blake Carew, you've got to mention him as well. But yeah, so Shaun Burgoyne,
Clay Tate.
He's fighting for Bazza Allen's votes here. And
out in the full.
Goes a straight.
Well, the question is now, where to for Garfield? 35 points is the margin, and although they have had to face Shaun Burgoyne, which would have had an impact around the team, not only himself, but 0-10, major obstacle ahead of them next week.
Yeah, well, in the early 2010s, they were a powerhouse of the Elam Bank District League. They won 2 flags and 3 grand final appearances from 2011 to 2015, but since they've moved to the West Gippsland League in 2017, they just can't grasp finals, and the closest they got in 2018 was when they won 10 games and finished 6th.
And moments like that, just there, dropped mark.
It just, with the way they've played today against Dalyston, who aren't the greatest team in this league, it's hard to see them getting a win. Maybe against Curramborough, Bina, they took it up against the Giants, I'll admit that, but even that was still a loss for them. So really fighting for anything here, the Stars. Tackle laid by a Magpie. Just trying to flick the footy forward towards goals. So I could perhaps get someone at full forward to crumb it. Burgoyne wants the footy, eventually gets it, dropped it, however. And now they're running through the middle. This is more like it, Garfield. Sakari. It was a good kick. He found Angus Emery, who can now go inside 50, and he finds Nick Lang. He's played a lot of footy, this man. Fakes the candy.
Oi.
Oh, he shoves him off. And he's absolutely booted it. But it swings off to the left. Oh, my goodness. That would have been such a good goal. Oh, he tossed that man around like a baby. My goodness. Ragdolled him.
Now, he spoke on Corumburra just a moment ago, and over at Kilcunda, it's a 2-point game late in the last quarter.
Kilcunda versus who it was, sorry?
Corumburra.
Curramborough, wow.
Back to the action. Putting it in motion. The defence for the Magpies. And they didn't hold up that time. Dalton. Just had to be precise with the kick. A mark wasn't paid. We were waiting for the whistle. And the ball up and making his case, rightfully so, is Lang.
I think he deserves a goal after that.
Over at Turadin as well. 5-point game late in the last quarter. So the leaders are being challenged. Quick snap out of the pack by Fitzpatrick. Off to the left and a minor score. Inaccuracy being the key for today.
That's what I said at the start of the game. Whoever is straighter on goal is really going to take advantage of this game. And Dalyston, they've just been better in front of goal, and the wind hasn't affected them as much. Whereas, as you saw, Fitzpatrick had a shot directly in front of goal, but the wind just didn't take account for it and swung all the way to the left. So the Garfield crowd still really loud down at that end. They've been swapping ends each quarter, supporting their side. And I think some of the cheer squad doesn't involve a couple reserves members who went down today to Dalyston. And in a game just before the seniors match up, and he fumbles it around and juggles it a bit, Zach Sotar, before taking a clean grab, and then Angus Emery going through the middle, cuts it back, and he finds John Zakari, who was a co-captain in the 2016 Under-12s Premiership for Garfield, for a bit of a random fact for you. And what a punch! Great backman work, and that might even get a free kick. Not quite. Now they can move through the wing here, the Pies. Soccers it out in front. You want to hope it doesn't go out of bounds here. Bit more Garfield colours showing.
Well done.
Then they were really good to get back there, Garfield. That's the sort of stuff they've needed all day, as M. Lewis takes another intercept.
On cue. Made a meal of it. Lewis forward for Paravicini, who's just kicked the one today. Won't kick another there. His teammate, however, looks to keep it alive. Unsuccessfully. Around the grounds, Coralin, who will be playing Warrigal Industrials in the Fairhaven Homes match of the round next week. They are leading Cooey up by 32 points in the last quarter. And Phillip Island are dismantling Bunyip. They lead it by 50 points in the last quarter. But we'll keep you updated with the two thrillers going on between Kilcunda and Corumburra, and Tooradin against Narnagoon. Tooradin have just kicked a goal. They hold an 11-point lead as back to the action. Well, their attempted goal was cut off by the defence. Maybe a bit of miscommunication. It was to open space, but there wasn't a teammate in sight. Pickering. At centre-half back. 17 and a half minutes in. A 33-point margin. But they've only had 3 less scoring shots. And kicks like that allow players like him to have shots at goal. Benjamin Lewis just misses and comes up a little skinny.
He had a lot of space there, but I don't think there was enough talking with his teammates to let him know that he wasn't hot and he was all good to go, and may have just prematurely kicked that one, but would have been a great finish.
Pickering again.
Instead, Pickering, or Pickers as the Garfield players like to call him apparently. He's heard that right from the boundary. He solved the candy. That was clever from Harper. They push along the wing. Contested grab.
Who else?
And that was Brendan Walsh again, who has been brilliant in the back line. Just about got my 3 votes for today. He has been terrific. And Walsh, he'll get another possession here. Yeah. They centre it. And they find the other terrific backman in Samir Kazada, who almost sent to inside 50. In fact, he actually has, and Mason Storr leads out in front. Now, it'll be interesting to see whether he goes with the set shot here. I don't think he will. He hasn't taken his time. He definitely won't. Swings. It's actually looking too bad, but not before it's rushed over by Pickering, who crashed into the post.
DNA all over the footy in the last few minutes. Has Jet Pickering from full-back. Now takes a step out of the square. Just pokes one across to Bo of the Liam variety. Jonty alongside him in the number 6.
Cousins,
not brothers, as we would have assumed. And now he has to have some tools to find himself clear, and he did. It was a bit of a scrambled kick. And maybe fortuitously just fell in the hands of Dalton. Out to the wing. Able to swipe it away, the defence. And they've worked this wonders. And as I say that, they turn it over. So Verleg. Short kick. And his teammate had his name written all over it. Back inside 50. And now there's repercussion sparking. Lewis to the forward pockets. It just evaded the one forward up there. There was 4 stars around it and just the one magpie. And in the end, it's probably a better result for Dalyston.
And I suppose it doesn't matter because they're going to get the win today. But I have noticed that they've overcooked a couple kicks now, going inside 50 to open targets. And I don't think Carew was necessarily open there, but there has been a lot of occasions where they've had to stretch out for a mark. So, and that's Storr in the ruck. Possession, I don't think he's been in much of today, as he shrugs Dalton off, who's been a bit of a pest to the Magpies in this last quarter. So edging towards goals here. Garfield just trying their best to desperately get it out. And umpire blows the whistle for another stoppage. A bit further out from goals than the previous one.
Yeah, about 35 out from the Magpies' goal. Over 21 minutes now into time on. Tap down, active hands, and now the kick just rinsed away to the wing. Maybe a late contender. Monson. He'd be unlucky to miss out on a couple of votes as well. He kicks that to Murfitt, who's slowly pedalling forward now. And the lead for Carew. I could see it from a mile away.
And he can go back for number 3 today. He has been great down in the forward line. I know we've spoken a lot about how good the backs have been today, but Carew has by far been the best forward for the Maggies.
15th season with Dalyston, and they call him by Roo. He's captain for the previous 7 years. 3 goals in 4 games this year, played in the reserves. First game back in round 6, and they just love to see him back in the seniors as he puts some finishing touches on the board for Dalyston, and they hold a 41-point lead late in this last quarter. 10-8-68, the 3-9-27 on the totally Workwear Pakenham scoreboard.
So a win is not even almost now, pretty much certain for the Magpies, as we're now a fair bit into time on, and we may only have about 3 minutes left, judging by how short the third quarter was, but we'll see how we go. Clouds looking awfully dark here by the sea in Dalyston. So it was Barnes and the ruck who used the body nicely to get in front of Jack Murray. Really high kick there, bounces in the centre square, but eventually floods out to the wing. Bow was a really accurate kick, but just unlucky to not find a target in the end. And breaks the tackle was Lang. Dishes it off by hand, only to turn it over. However, they retain possession. Finds a player in Fitzgerald. Handballs over. That is the story of today.
It's almost too unselfish, isn't it?
That
Fitzgerald.
was just so close to a goal there, but the handball was deviated from its natural path after a Pies player was able to tap it, and it goes through for a rush behind. And as I mentioned before, another overcooked kick going over a Pies player's hand.
Yeah, but they've just lost some ascendancy around the clearances, have the Stars.
Yeah. Like, the scoreboard didn't really tell the story of the game with the midfield work, but it just seems like they've run out of legs here in this fourth quarter, Garfield.
Detached from the original position, and again, no one able to find a way out. Over 24 minutes left. Siren beckoning. Maybe another goal as Garfield hurled forward. Was tossed up in the air, and Clay Tate, prominent part of this defensive influence that they've had today. No one looking to influence the ball carrier, and Tate there to a nest of players. Broken up in the air. And now they can advance, and they do across the wing. The kick is extremely wide. It'll stay in play, not for too long. And Carew could not fetch that.
So, crowd was jeering at something. Didn't hear what it was about, and nonetheless, it'll be a boundary throw-in.
Yep.
So, in the ruck, taps it out to Dalton, who has been getting under the skin a little bit today. He's tackled by Lockie Ireland. Another
ball up. Half forward. Knocked down, and then the volleyball spike. And just trying to free up some space. He was unable to. Hayden Wallace brought to ground by Zach Dalton, and a free kick has been paid.
And just quietly, don't want to say it too loud in front of Dalton here, but I thought that could have been a bit of a dangerous tackle.
Could have been. Burgoyne
Saw
parked underneath.
Sorry, Dill. I saw Wallace take a really heavy
And
hit
again.
to the head.
Carew in the hot spot. He kicked one previously. Similar distance, different angle. This time he's straight in front to give Dalyston a 46-point lead. Now 26 minutes in. Burgoyne's presence has done enough. How about Blake Carew's? Not that time.
Yeah, sorry, Dill.
You're right.
I was just trying to say, but the Maggies were playing too good. Yeah, I thought Hayden Wallace, he took a really heavy hit to the head there in that tackle right by the boundary, and obviously in a game where we're now trying to protect the head, I thought it could have been a dangerous tackle, but nonetheless, we're well past it now. So Curtis Harper from full back after the miss by Carew, who hasn't had many errors, and that's an error. Pickering almost lost the footy there. Luckily, he was just able to fight enough. Intercepted by a Pies player, however. So another opportunity lurks, and here's Burgoyne, the man of the moment, the Carlton Draft nominee. He was drafted by the Dalyston Magpies, and he can go for number 2 today. He's certainly got the legs on him here. He kicked an outstanding goal before, earlier in the game.
This script is written perfectly.
Shaun Burgoyne, Mr. Silk, 50 out. That's looking almighty good. He's got it. Look at the guys run out to him. Shaun Silk Burgoyne, take a bow. A legend of our game. And what a kick from 50 out to put the cherry on top for a great day for the Maggies.
Silky smooth, wasn't it, Baz? He looks to be quite happy with it too.
He is in love with himself after that one.
And why wouldn't you be? That is just a genuine strike of the football. Nothing but power. 28 minutes now into this last quarter. It's been quite elongated. We'll see how this last little bit plays out. But a Shaun Burgoyne goal to end the day is the perfect sentiment for Dalyston. And another scrap. Kicked forward, Verleg. In defence, Armstrong couldn't quite reel it in. And a free kick has been paid to Garfield. Maybe a consolation goal as the siren sounds. And Shaun Burgoyne, a major part of this side today. As we wait for the final score, Zach Sauter. He will not register a score because this wind and rain is just falling down at a menacing rate at the moment.
Just came out of nowhere.
But Shaun Burgoyne and the Dalyston Magpies prevail for their second win of the season. 11-9-75 to 3-10-28. It was a 29-minute last quarter, and it was capped off with an extraordinary Shaun Burgoyne goal. We'll move to the post-game show in the moment, but this is a lovely sight to see.
A community that likes to work hard. Digging, fixing, building, keeping people safe, or just lending a hand. A community that all have one place to come together, where they're spoilt for choice and good service is everything. And although there are stores all over Australia, the owners are as local as they come. Totally Workwear, clothing your hard-working community.
I'm going all the way up. I'm going all the way up. I'm letting go in my heart of everything that holds me down. No, no. And it's feeling like I'm going enough. I can feel the love. Oh yeah, it's all around me.
Welcome to the post-game show, supported by Totally Workwear Gippsland Stores. The new store is open in Pakenham. Be sure to check it out. But Dalyston, their second win of the season, inspired by Shaun Burgoyne's presence. It's a little odd to say that name. A 407-game superstar, Bailey Allen alongside me. Just general thoughts as well as Shaun Burgoyne's.
Well, Shaun Burgoyne, he made my way into my heart, and I am now considering him for my votes, but we'll get back to that in a minute.
It's necessary.
Yeah, he was great today. A number of the Pies were, and Garfield, they didn't play bad, but it was just turnovers and inaccuracy that cost them in the end. So like 10 behinds, just wasn't good enough in comparison to their three goals. So at the end of the day, it was just Dalyston who was the classier team.
Sponsored by Fuse by King G. Just our thoughts for the moment before we transition to our mark of the day. But that last quarter, they really blew out the game. They were still within range. Garfield at three-quarter time, it was 29 points. But they just struggled to kick, as you can see on the scoreboard. 3 goals 10 to 11 goals 9. 7 less scoring shots. 7 times 6 is 42. The margin 47. So almost every kick is a goal, the difference, if that makes sense to you.
Well, I dropped out of maths in year 10, so it's racking the brain a little bit.
But as we move to the Fuse by King G mark of the day, plenty to consider. And I think I know which one you're leaning towards, Baz.
Oh, yeah. Look, I can't go past Blakey Carew. That mark down here on the wing, closer to our camera, that was just a great grab with the one hand. So I can't go past Carew today.
Again, like last week, I'll be different. I'll go with Jack Paravicini in the first quarter. He took a great contested mark, finished it off with a goal, I believe. And it was just an extraordinary outfit today for Dalyston. 47 points, the win. King G Trade Comfort Max goal of the day. Again, I think I know which way you're heading, and I'll go first this time. Shaun Burgoyne, not only 1 but 2 goals from outside 50. Take your pick, really. Either one of them are suitable.
Look, my brain goes Blake Carew, who absolutely thumps that Sharon from 50 out. Not a big run-up either, but look, my heart has to go with Shaun Burgoyne on that last kick, on that set shot from about 50 out. It was just a great finish to a game, and really tells us about this cause for grassroots footy, and they've had a tough couple years, and it was just great to see an AFL icon kick a great goal for a local club.
Yeah, morale will be high in the rooms for Dalyston, you'd think. Garfield, it was a valiant effort. I say that, but the goal kicking is just hard to pass, because 3 goals 10 and plenty of them that were opportunities. And again, for Dalyston, Mason Storr missed 2 that he should have kicked. So it could have been a 60-point margin. In the end, 47 points. To the votes, I'll let you kickstart us.
1 vote. Oh boy, this is hard. I think Blake Carew hit the scoreboard more.
It's 1990. Oh. Almost like it's 1996 all over again. The power went out for a brief moment, but we're back with the votes. Bailey Allen, this time we'll move a little quicker so we're not disrupted, but one vote.
Well, one vote. I'm going to go Shaun Burgoyne. Blake Carew, he hit the scoreboard more, but in the end, I think Shaun Burgoyne's last goal really hit the heartstrings there, and he was great around the footy in the midfield as well. So I'm going to give my one vote to Silk. My two votes would go to Samir Kazazada. He was an absolute pillar down in the back line. There wasn't much fault you could give him on his game. He played brilliantly. And for my three votes, it's got to be Brendan Walsh. He played magnificent. I cannot say this word today. Magnificently down back. Had a lot of intercepts and got a lot of the footy as well. Almost sort of played that Tom Stewart role. So I really liked how Walsh played today. 3 votes for me.
Yeah, look, I would have had Blake Carew in the one vote. Clay Tate as well, honourable mention. He was, as you say, a pillar back in defence all day. But Shaun Burgoyne, that last goal, basically had him entrenched in the votes. I'll give him 1 vote. I think we're heading in a similar path. 2 votes, I have gone with Samir Kazazada, and 3 votes for Brendan Walsh. Plenty of contested marks. Not only him, but really the whole defence, and they were just able to riddle the Garfield offence. Not sure where to go, which way to kick, and a little hesitant, especially in the back end of that game. But overall, 47 points is the margin. What a spectacle Shaun Burgoyne put on. Didn't have a whole lot of the footy, but when he did, he made sure to capitalise on it. Kicked 2 goals from outside 50, and when I say he didn't have a whole lot of the ball, he still had about 20 possessions. Impactful as always. Thank you for joining us. Next week, Coralin against Warragul Industrials will be your Fairhaven Homes match of the round. But this post-game show, proudly brought to you by Fused by King G, sees Dalyston with a 47-point win over Garfield. 11-9-75 to 3